The first thing we need to do to fix a flat is to get the tube tire off of the bicycle. So remove your rim, tube and tire from the bike. If you still have air in your tire, go ahead and take your tube valve stem and let all the air out of the tire. Then if your valve stem uses one of these nuts, go ahead and remove that. Should just be finger tight. Then go around your tire and make sure that the tire bead is separated from the rim on both sides. Usually that's not an issue with bicycle tires, but sometimes on the older bikes the tire will tend to stick to the rim. My objective is to remove one side of the tire so that I can get the rim out. Usually you can do that with just your hands, just grab the tire, press in and out, and work the tire away from the rim. If you can't do it with your hands, take a tire tool like this. You can get these at Walmart or your local bicycle shop. It's got this one end that's shaped like that. This you can reach underneath the tire, lift it out, and remove it from the rim like this. Make sure that you don't grab onto your, you don't want to pinch your tube, but grab it like this, and then you can work it around the tire to completely remove one side of the tire from the rim. Now I'm ready to remove the tube from the tire. When you reach this point, it's important to remember the orientation of the tube and the tire so that when you find the hole in the tube, you'll know about where it occurred on the tire, and you can double check that location for any damage or maybe a nail or piece of glass that might be stuck in the tire. So also it helps make sure, again, all the air is out of the tube. Just going to pull the tire back, remove the valve stem from the rim, and I can pull the tire out. Or the tube out. So with the tire out, we're ready to inspect it. And to do that, I need to put some air in the tire, and then to find the leak, I can either use a spray bottle filled with water and like a dishwashing soap and spray that on the tire and look for any bubbles that occur from the air leaking from the tube. Or I can take the tube filled with air and dunk it in water and do the same thing, look for bubbles created by the leak in the tire. So I'm going to put some air in this. This is one of those slime tires too, so it's kind of messy to work with. I happen to know that the flat was created by a pinch flat, and I can see it right here. It's a really kind of big, deep cut, but I get a lot of these, so what I'm going to do, instead of replacing the tube, I'm going to patch this. And then after you find your the hole in your tube, because you remember the orientation of the tube to the tire, you can you'll know about where the flat occurred on the tire itself, and you can take your tire and inspect the outside of it, and also inspect the inside of your tire for any sharp pieces or any tears, any breaks in the tire. You may want to replace your tire, but you definitely want to get rid of anything that may have caused your flat. And then also you want to inspect your rim. There's a rim strap on your rim that covers the spoke nipples. You want to make sure that that's in place and not damaged, not ripped or torn, because if without that, your spoke nipples and the rough edges of the rim can cause a flat to occur. I have 2 holes in this tire to deal with. I've got one right there, which is pretty big, and then another one on the other side of it, and that's also an indication of a pinch flat. You'll have a hole and then another hole, usually right in line with it somewhere. That's a pretty big hole, but I would probably it'd be a good idea to replace the tube, but I'm going to go ahead and patch it anyway because I get these all the time from trying to jump over objects, and having to replace the tube every time gets expensive. So I'm going to try and repair it using this classic patch kit. Alright, so you can see I've taken a Sharpie here and tried to mark the holes so I know where they're at. But I think that mark's going to disappear as soon as I start scraping the tube. But first thing I do, because this is a slime tube, and I've been doing this off camera, is try and push the slime away from the holes so it stops oozing out of the cuts. And then I will take my scraper that came with my tire kit, repair kit, or tube repair kit, and I'll scrape the area around the cuts to roughen it up. And I'll do that to both sides, for both cuts. And try and remove the loose rubber. And then, because I've had slime oozing out onto the tube, I'll take some rubbing alcohol and clean up the area around the cuts. And let that dry. It dries pretty quick. And then I'll take my rubber cement and get it around the area where the patch is going to go. And then take my patch, peel off the backing, and apply it to the area. And I'll do that for both sides. Oops, I'm out of view, aren't I? And then I will place a heavy object over these and hold this down for about 15 minutes before I install the tube back into the tire. And also, you can remove this real thin paper, if it will let me. I'm just making a mess. From the patch. So this is my repaired tube after about 15 minutes. So the first step in installing your repaired tube or a new tube back into your tire is we need to add some air to the tube, just enough to keep it its shape as you're installing it. that. And then find the hole in the rim for the valve. Trying to get this on camera. It's kind of hard looking, trying to do this and look at the viewfinder at the same time. Slip that through the hole in the rim. Put your tube in place. And then you should be able to get your tire back on the rim strictly by hand. You don't need to use your tire tool. And just be very careful about. It's always a hazard to pinch the tube, but if you do it by hand and you have some air in the tube, it's unlikely that's going to happen. But I'm just going to work the tire around the rim, get it in place. And I got the tire back on the rim, as you can see. And I'm going to reinstall this nut that goes on the valve stem. Never tighten this down with a pair of pliers, just do it by hand. And now I'm ready to air up my tube. So when I air up the rim and as the tube expands and pushes the tire out, I want to make sure that the tire where it meets the rim looks the same all the way around the rim. Usually I'll pick a line on the tire and make sure that it's equal distance from the rim all the way around the rim. That way I make sure that my tire and everything is seating evenly and properly. So I'm going to put my adapter on, press the valve, get my pump, and air it up to the recommended PSI. And then you can see, I'll stop and just check your tire, make sure that it's expanding and fitting the rim properly. And then, it's real important to put the proper PSI in your tires. It probably would have prevented that pinch flat. I think my tires were a little low when I got that, but anyway, that's how you repair your tube or replace your tube. I'm a little concerned about that one big cut. It was kind of big, but if my repair doesn't work, I'll just replace the tube. It's not a big deal. But anyway, thanks for watching, and got any questions, leave them in the comment section and I'll do my best to answer them.